How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your weekly forecast of what the fuck is going on in the universe for November 19th through November 26th. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I super appreciate all of you guys. I'd also like to apologize I was not able to get my full moon horoscopes out. Usually I do the full moon horoscope right when the moon is in a square, and it's going to be like a week right before the full moon or a week right before the new moon. That's when I've been putting these horoscopes out. Haven't had the time to do my full moon horoscope yet. However, your December horoscopes for the whole month are going to be out this week, so make sure you guys check those out. As well, this past 2 weeks have been pretty crazy. However, I really do think that this week is going to kind of shed a lot more light and kind of help us get into the tone, into the pace of that kind of weird shift that we had. So let's kind of go into it. On Monday today, we had the moon going through Aries. It was trining Mercury. And as the moon was in Aries, it's kind of like, okay, now what do we do? What does moving forward look like? Where do we want to go with this? Where do we emotionally need to invest our energy into? And as this moon in Aries has been happening, we've also had Mars squaring Jupiter. Where when I was talking about with Jupiter, I think I talked about this in my Jupiter and Sagittarius video. However, I did talk about it in my Mercury retrograde video. With Mars being in Pisces, where we're really trying to find our way, we're trying to find it's kind of like listening to our intuition when we travel. It's kind of like not being so aggressive, not being so in the heat, in the moment, really finding our own path, really being open to what that path looks like, kind of going on a journey and feeling everything out rather than taking a clear road and a path. It's kind of like making your own path, finding what works for you. And as Mars has been squaring Jupiter, where Jupiter's now in Sagittarius, Jupiter's wanting to open up new doors in this, it's kind of like, okay, what does moving forward really look like? And even though Mars is in Pisces, where it's not that it's going to be easy for him to get lost, it's just going to be really easy for us to feel confused, us not knowing what our next step is. But as this moon in Aries happens and it's trining Mercury today on Monday, it's gonna feel a lot easier to move forward. It's gonna be easier to take that next step forward, even though we're not really sure what direction we're gonna be going into. So this is really good stuff. However, going into Tuesday, we have the moon making an opposition to Venus. It will be conjuncting Uranus, then going into Taurus, and it'll be trining Saturn. And so as the moon conjuncts Uranus and starts opposing Venus, I think this is really when we're going to start to feel the motivation and the drive to move forward, where we want to really put our energy into. Now with Venus being in Libra, she's now direct, she's moving forward again. Venus in Libra is wanting to conquer things in a way that's going to bring peace, that's going to bring stability, things that are going to bring order to things. And we're putting that value there, we're putting that Venusian energy on this type of idea. And as the moon is in Aries, where we're wanting to take action, we're wanting to drive, and it's conjunct Uranus, you may start to feel a little bit more excited to be moving forward. You're going to feel a little bit more excited to put that action into, or put that energy into action, really. And as Venus is in Libra, where it's kind of about doing this with grace and making sure it gets done the right way, Mars in Pisces, with that happening, we've got to just, work our way one step at a time, finding our way one step at a time, and believing that we can get to that end result, but it's okay to not know how we're going to get there. So anyway, as we move on a Tuesday, when the moon goes into Taurus and it trines Saturn, this is going to be interesting because the moon's going to be in Taurus without Uranus, which we've had every time the moon's been in Taurus. Uranus has been there since May. So this moon in Taurus is going to feel a lot more grounded than usual. I shouldn't say usual. It's going to feel a lot more grounded, like it's supposed to be. And as the moon's in Taurus and it trines Saturn, this is going to be, okay, now that we've decided where to take this direction, feel like we're ready to conquer it, feel like we're ready to attack it, I guess in a sense, but in a open sense, in a very soft receiving, also like giving sense, like a very, not so aggressive, but very much receiving, surrendering to the process. As the moon goes into Taurus and trines Saturn, this is going to help us get comfortable. This is going to help us build more of a foundation. This is going to help us get stable and grounded into this new energy. Mercury's retrograding in my first house right now. My words suck today. Anyway, so expect that for the next kind of couple weeks. Going on into Wednesday on November 21st, we have the moon sextiling Mars. It's going to sextile Neptune while it's in Taurus. So again, this is helping us get our feet planted. This is helping us get, it's kind of like, walking barefoot through the forest. It's kind of like getting a feel for the ground that you're on, getting a feel for everything and getting comfortable in that, getting solidified in that. And so this is going to feel really nice. It's going to sextile Neptune, where you're going to feel that, that intuitive comfort kind of coming out, I guess, in a way to say it. Like, it's gonna feel weird, it's gonna feel unique, but it's gonna feel just right. Like, it's gonna feel very harmonious is a good way to put it. And yeah, besides that, the moon's gonna be trining Saturn and Pluto, which is kind of like whatever. But anyway, as we go into Thursday, this is when the week kind of just all of a sudden, woo, gets a little bit crazy, because we have the sun going into Sagittarius. We're finally done with Scorpio season. We've had enough of the Scorpio energy. It was like we had Venus, the sun, we had Mercury, we had Jupiter, all in Scorpio just a few weeks ago. Now that the sun's out of Scorpio, we don't have any planets in Scorpio for a little while. And the sun's gonna be going into Sagittarius season starting, and right as the sun goes into Sagittarius, the moon is gonna go into Gemini. And we're gonna have the full moon in Gemini. And so this is going to be really interesting, because as the sun goes into Sagittarius and it gets closer to, you know, going cazimi with Jupiter, same thing with Mercury, there's a whole lot of energy that's being introduced in Sagittarius. And as we have the moon going into Gemini, where it's going to be full, we kind of have to look at Mercury, and Mercury's retrograde in Sagittarius right now too. So as the sun goes into Sagittarius, where it's like, okay, now we're starting to feel this energy of Sag, wanting to move forward, wanting to explore, being a little bit more positive about it, having things to do is a good way to put it too. We're gonna have this moon go into Gemini, where we're receiving information, we're taking things in. Gemini is all about communication. It's like answers, kind of, where I would say Virgo is more of like intellectual things, specific things, detail. Gemini is more about the actual sentence, what's in the package, what is the message that it's portraying. And as we have this full moon here, where we're kind of bringing things into light, we're realizing things we didn't see, we have to look at Mercury retrograde in Sag, because that's the ruler of Gemini. And Mercury's in his detriment, he is retrograde, he's relearning things, he's playing tricks on us, and I feel like this full moon in Gemini is really gonna give us all of the messages and the answers that we kind of need. It's not gonna be exactly what we want. I think it's just gonna be a lot of, just kind of like a lot of everything. There's gonna be a lot of options, there's gonna be a lot of things introduced, and there's gonna be a lot of different ways to look at it. But like I was telling you guys with the Mercury in retrograde video that I did, we have to take our time with this. Mercury is still retrograde in Sag. Slow your roll a little bit and just take all the answers in as they come. Take all the information in as it comes. Don't be worried about doing something really quick or having an opinion about it or doing anything like that. Just take it in as it comes and move slowly. Work slowly with it, because Mercury still has a lot of stuff to do with Jupiter and the sun and going back into Scorpio. But Mercury can get really overwhelmed with all this stuff. So just make sure when we get into Thursday, things kind of chill out a little bit. The moon is also going to be opposing Jupiter at the same time too. So this is going to be kind of good stuff, but this is going to be kind of putting a big emphasis on this whole Jupiter in Sagittarius thing, introducing, you know, what this is really going to look like, introducing what this, you know, both sides of the story look like with Jupiter and Sagittarius, you know. What does this mean you have to do? What do you have to understand? What do you have to believe? What does that mean? What do you have to tell yourself? What do you have to go and search and find? That's kind of like the whole theme of this. So Thursday is pretty much jam-packed. So expect Thursday to kind of just like, whoa, all of a sudden there's a bunch of stuff going on. Moving into Friday, though, the moon is going to still oppose Jupiter, but it's going to also oppose Mercury. And so as the moon opposes Mercury, as we just get off this full moon, I think this is really going to be kind of going, okay, now that I've received this information, now that I see things in the way that I need to see them, what does moving forward look like? Because Mars is also going to be in the middle of this. Mars is in Pisces, where he's got to figure out which way to go, but we have Mercury and Sag getting the message wrong. We have the full moon in Gemini just trying to give the message. So as Mars is in Pisces, where it's like you may feel confused, you may feel lost, you don't know which step to take, it's all about taking one step at a time in a forward-moving direction. It's just about going, okay, I don't know what the path is going to look like. I know the destination that I want to go to. It's kind of like there's a big fog in the forest right now when we're on a hiking trail. You don't have to see the whole trail in front of you to know that you're going to get to your destination. You just got to trust that each step that you take is going to get you closer and closer to that. So as Mars is in Pisces, kind of giving us that feel of, you know, making sure we're knowing where we're stepping, we're being intuitive, we're trusting our intuition and our gut instincts on this. This full moon in Gemini, as it opposes Mercury, is really going to be like, okay, this is clear. This is what you need to know. These are the answers that you're looking for. This is the message that you're looking for. And it's just about taking that information in and going one step at a time. So then, also on Friday, yeah, we'll be squaring Mars, and it will be squaring Neptune too. So again, it's going to feel a little bit foggy, but you're also going to if you just take a moment, I can't hit on this enough, just take a moment, relax with it, take it all in, and take one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with everything that can kind of happen, and just let it all happen is the best way to put it. Then as we go into Saturday, really nothing's kind of happening on Saturday. The moon's going to trine Venus. That's like it. So Friday's going to be kind of like, okay, now that all this information's in, the moon's going to trine Venus, everything's still kind of the same, where we're going to be able to kind of look at this in like a more of a positive direction, where we're going to be able to go, okay, if I want to handle all of this, if I want to address this, and if I want to move forward with this, as the moon shines Venus, this is going to be about understanding this information to a level to where you can put that Venus in Libra direct energy that we've been talking about first, you know, making sure you're applying the way that it's supposed to be done, an ethical, right way. Things are supposed to work. Things are supposed to be balanced. It's kind of like making sure you can apply that with this new situation. Then on Sunday, there's a ton. Oh my God, Sunday is just packed too. We have the moon going into Cancer. So the moon's going to be in its home sign. It's going to be trining Mars. It's going to be trining Neptune. It's going to be opposing Saturn as well. So as the moon goes into Cancer where it's home, it's going to be trining Mars, where Mars is going to feel more comfortable listening to the moon. And the moon's going to be like, this is what you need. These are the steps that you need to take. Mars and Pisces is going to be like, you're right. Let me take this next step. And especially as the moon's trining Neptune, Neptune's kind of like, yeah, like this is exactly what you need. This is going to feel good. This is going to, you know, Neptune's kind of like, this is going to make all your dreams come true. But that's just kind of like Neptune's, you know, sales pitch in a sense. Then the sun's also going to conjunct Jupiter at 3 degrees. And this is going to last for like a day or two, because the sun's going to be at 3 degrees, Jupiter's going to be at 3 degrees. They're going to move together at 4 degrees Sag. So we have like 2 days of the sun-Jupiter conjunction, which is a pretty awesome day. Like pretty positive. We have Jupiter in his benefic sign. We have the sun in Sagittarius, which Sagittarius is one of the triplicity lords for the sun. And so when you have the sun and Jupiter conjunction, where we're talking about Jupiter being in the heart of the sun, going through a purge, going through a cleansing, it's going to be initiating and kickstarting that Jupiter and Sagittarius feel. And this is going to be interesting because the moon's going to be in Cancer here. It's going to be trining Mars. It's going to be trining Neptune. It's going to be opposing Saturn, where we're going to feel the confidence and the belief and the faith that we need in order to establish this positive mindset moving forward. But as the moon's in Cancer and it's opposing Saturn, it's time to get real and serious with what do you need? What do you need to be nurtured? What do you need to protect? What comes first? So that is going to be really important. Neptune also goes direct. That's also going to be a little bit important because it's not the biggest thing in the world, but as Neptune goes direct, as he's in the middle of a square with Mercury, Mars is going to conjunct it, Jupiter is going to square it, like Neptune's kind of got a lot of things going on with it. So as Neptune moves direct, I think this is when the fog kind of like starts to dissipate. It's not so like, I feel like when Neptune retrogrades, like the fog gets heavier and heavier and heavier. But as Neptune goes direct, that fog is going to kind of clear up. And even though it'll still be a little bit foggy, still be a little bit blurry, it is going to be dissipating, and we are going to start feeling things on a more clear level. And it's going to be, instead of seeing 5 feet in front of us, we could see 20 feet in front of us. So, yeah, and then also Mercury is going to be squaring Mars as well. This is important too, because as Mars is in Pisces and, you know, taking one step at a time, trusting your intuition, knowing where to go next, as Mercury squares Mars, it's like Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, maybe getting a little bit ahead of itself, maybe telling you, you got to go this way, things have to look this way, do this, do that. Like this is the message, and it could be a little bit overwhelming. But as Mars squares Mercury, you kind of have to get to this point where it's kind of like, where do you have to trust that path that you're taking? Where do you have to kind of shut yourself up? Where do you kind of have to just let go of the expectation that you can be creating in your head? As Mercury retrogrades in Sagittarius, there's a lot of different ideas that are coming into play. There's a lot of different ways things can look. And like I said, Mercury is really overwhelmed. So as Mars squares Mercury, like make sure you're just taking one thing at a time. You're not letting this get to you. You're not letting this overwhelm you or let yourself get angry with this. But there will be miscommunications. There will be things that aren't exactly clear. And as Mercury squares Mars, this is going to feel really irritating. But the biggest thing that you can do is just trust the process and just take it again, one step at a time. Have more faith. Have more hope. This is a big time in really learning and discovering what we really believe. This is Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. Jupiter's there. The sun's going to be there. There's a lot of stuff's going on this week, guys. So it's going to be kind of deep. And then by this time next week, the moon is going to conjunct the North Node. This is really important. The North Node just hit Cancer, and this is the first time the moon's been in Cancer with the North Node there. So this is going to feel like on a whole nother level of like, whoa, like I'm being pulled in this direction. I'm being pulled this way. This is what's calling out to me now. This is what my gut instincts are telling me to do. This is going to feel real good and feel real raw and clean, especially if you got any water going on in your chart. You're going to, oh man, you're going to love it. But It's also going to be squaring Uranus and Venus during this time. So as Uranus is back in Aries squaring the nodes, Venus is in Libra, she's squaring the nodes too. This is going to feel really big of like, all right, like what is actually taking this new direction mean? Are you going to let Uranus and Aries kind of light that fire up your ass to get things going? And are you going to let Venus and Libra let you do things in a delicate, I don't want to say delicate, getting things done in a smooth way, in the right way, and to where things all go according to plan and perfect. Like, this is gonna feel very, what's the best way to put it? You're just gonna feel ready to take on that new direction, to move in that new direction. It's just gonna require a lot of inspiration, a lot of, taking that action, but it's also gonna be kind of like, falling in style. Like, you don't know how things are going to look. You don't know how things are going to play out, but you got to fake it till you make it almost. Make sure it looks good on the outside, even though on the inside, you don't even know what's going on. And then the sun and Jupiter will still be conjunct at 4 degrees. So again, we're experiencing this new purge, this new cleansing of the Jupiter and Sag. This is when it kind of kickstarts. This is when it kind of turns on. This is when it's kind of like, it's up and it's alive and it's real. And it's going to take a while for the sun to kind of leave Jupiter. And once Jupiter, starts to become visible in the night sky, that's when it's going to be a lot more prevalent. But as the sun conjuncts Jupiter, this is cleansing that Jupiter energy. This is getting him washed out of Scorpio and getting him prepped and excited for Sagittarius. That's a long week. Yeah, that was a lot. This is going to be an interesting week. The biggest thing I could say is just take it all in. And just trust the process, take things one step at a time, and surrender to the process. You don't have to control everything. You just have to trust your internal guide. You have to trust what you think is going to be best for you. And so with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. I love every single one of you guys, and I'll be seeing you guys not only for next week's horoscope, but this week I'll be putting out your monthly horoscopes for all the signs. So with that, thank you guys, and I'll see you later.